welcome to the third devlog for an RTS game that I'm developing for mobile. In this one, I've made quite a few changes. First off, starting with the terrain system. As mentioned previously, I was not happy with the first iteration of a terrain, mainly because it looked ugly, to be very honest, and it had those realistic texture packs, whereas my models are more cartoonish, low poly. So I wanted to redesign my terrain, having a more cartoonish look, and I also wanted to solve some other problems with the terrain that made it look unrealistic or ugly. So I checked out quite a few videos on YouTube on terrain designing in Unity, and based on that, here is my second attempt. Now, and based on the videos, a very good idea someone shared was to, rather than having a single large terrain, we can have neighboring terrains to give the perception of distance or depth. So what I'm doing here is I have my main battleground in the middle, and I have these neighboring battlegrounds which will support in creating these mountainous regions. So this way we have hills at the front and these large mountains at the back, so when the camera looks upward, rather than seeing the skybox or rather than looking into the void, having a very ugly, unrealistic look, we can actually have a self-contained environment where it looks like the soldiers or the soldiers are having battle in a valley or a mountainous region, rather than a terrain suspended in midair. So having using a texture that matches the style of my game and adding this new design to the terrain, I'm very happy with how it turned out so far. I might change it later on, but this is the battleground going forward. The next thing added to the game was a camera controller system, because previously having a zoomed out semi top-down look that viewed the entire battleground was not working out for a game of this type. I wanted the players to basically have a close-up view of all the mini battles that were taking place within the game. So for that purpose, I brought the camera down a bit closer to the battleground, placed it in the middle, and wrote a simple script that would just rotate the camera to the left and right. So this way, with the mouse and later on with the touch, players can just rotate the camera to the left and right, and in this way view the full battleground. I think it works for the game at this state. It might change later on, but it will do for now. I then added a UI panel to the game that would allow me to select the characters that I wanted to deploy onto the battleground. And since I don't have any custom 2D art for my characters, what I did was I made this makeshift studio or gallery within Unity, and where I pressed play and my models posed, and I took screenshots. These screenshots gave me the UI images that I needed for the character selection panel. And this is what the UI panel looks like. It will be automatically generated at the bottom of the screen, and based on the number of characters you have unlocked. Along with the character panel, I also made some other UI elements, such as to the top left, a panel that would display the money left. Obviously, deploying characters onto the battleground would require money, and that's where players can see how much they have left or how much they have generated. I also added global health bars to the player base and enemy base, and within these health bars you can see my top tier graphic designing, where I generated a placeholder image for the flags. The idea of the flag is that I'm going to be basing this game on real world events, and and real world countries. So for someone, for example, someone wants to join a multiplayer game, they will, when making their profile, they can select the country they represent, and that country flag will be placed here. Next, there were some visual elements fixed in the game. Now that characters and enemies were being deployed onto the battleground, I observed that there was something definitely wrong with the combats, such as over here, where they don't need to be this close when all of them have guns. And this was fixed by changing the minimum attack distance of the pistol, and that looks much better now. The next thing that needed fixing was the death animation. So what was happening was, when the characters died, they continued to fire their weapons, and I also didn't like the fact that when the characters died, they would just disappear from the battleground. It just did not look nice. So I fixed this by adding a new death animation. First, the character would obviously stop firing when they would die, and then I made it so that the characters would gently sink into the ground after, let's say, 4 or 5 seconds. This can be either increased or decreased later on. I feel this gives a much better look than the characters just disappearing from the scene. And that's all the changes that I have made in this devlog. Thanks a lot for watching, and hope to catch you in the next one.